Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Hellman, and I am the president of the Medicine Hat and District Chamber of Commerce. On behalf of the Chamber's Board of Directors, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the first night of our 2013 Municipal Election Forums. The Medicine Hat and District Chamber has been advocating for business since 1900 and is responsible for seeking answers to questions and concerns of importance to our membership. Currently, the Chamber has nearly 700 active members, ranging from one person to home-based business to large corporations. Over the past year, Medicine Hat and District Chamber of Commerce has worked on several municipal issues, including the land use bylaw, commercial taxation, off-site levies, and red tape reduction, just to name a few, and are committed to voicing the concerns of the business community on their behalf. Tonight we will be hearing from the new councillor candidates for the City of Medicine Hat as they explain their positions on a variety of issues facing our city, while also explaining their qualifications and experience that has led them to vie for a position to help govern a city of 62,000. Because the Chamber is a nonpartisan organization, we are proud advocates for openness and transparency at all levels of government, and we encourage our business members and the community to take a vested interest in electing representatives and making an informed vote. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator for this evening. Ken Cobley has been the president and CEO of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce since February of 2005. Over the past 8.5 years, Ken has developed the ACC's profile as a strong, consistent voice for Alberta business. Provincial, national, and international media regularly turn to the ACC for comment on business-related issues. As the CEO of the Federation of 126 Chambers of Commerce, which in turn represents some 23,000 businesses, Ken advocates for the policies developed by individual chambers and adopted by the Federation as a whole. Ken's broad professional and political background has served him well in his position. He achieved his Certified General Accountant designation in 1980, which has allowed him to provide professional tax and accounting services to individuals and owner-managed businesses. He has also worked for the province of Alberta in the banking industry. Ken spent 2 decades on the Municipal Council of the town of Beaumont, where he currently resides, and was the mayor of the town for 12 years. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Ken Cobley. And this is your microphone.
Thanks, Chris. It's always a pleasure to come back to Medicine Hat. Probably one of the things that was most important and actually was missed out of the introduction, and I have to make sure it gets back in, is that I am born and raised in Medicine Hat and darn proud of it. And it'll always be my hometown no matter where I go. So it's always a pleasure to come back to Medicine Hat to meet up with friends and family. In the spirit of full disclosure, I actually found out today in looking through the script that I'm related to one of the candidates by marriage. One of the candidates, Barry Canodal, is actually married to one of my cousins. And that's not unusual. Every time I came down to Medicine Hat, just after I left Medicine Hat, my mom and I would walk through the old Southview Mall, and we'd be walking along, and she'd say, "Oh yeah, that's one of your second cousins." "Okay, Mom." "Yep." So I learned very quickly that we have a lot of roots in this community. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize a former chair of the Medicine Hat Chamber of Commerce and also a former chair of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce. I had the pleasure of serving with Kay when she went through the various positions at the Alberta Chambers. So I'd like to introduce Kay Taylor. Where are you, Kay? I'm honored to be moderating tonight's event for the Chamber. Before we begin tonight's debate, I would like to take a moment to explain the rules to which all of the candidates have agreed. Each candidate will have 1 minute to make an opening statement before we proceed into the question and debate portion of tonight's event. On the topics presented, each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to a question that will be asked to all candidates. Follow-up questions may be asked, to which they will also have 1 minute to respond. During tonight's question and answer period, I may open the floor to debate, following a particular topic, to a maximum of 4 minutes per topic if there's a substantial interest in that particular topic. And finally, each candidate will have 90 seconds to make a closing statement at the end of the program. This forum is structured in a manner that allows equal opportunity for all candidates to express their political views and plans for action and the effect this will have on business in this community. The structure of this forum allows you as the audience to hear from each candidate equally so you're able to make an informed decision on October 21. None of the candidates have any advanced knowledge of tonight's questions, but they were given a list of potential topics that we'll be discussing. The questions for tonight's debate are directly related to chamber policy, which have been developed on behalf of local business. Questions were also taken from the chamber membership and anonymous submissions from their website. Those chosen were selected in accordance with chamber policies and current issues relative to business in our community. Additionally, the chamber has submitted a letter to each candidate with 6 questions outlining topics such as strategic priorities, economic development, small business job creation, infrastructure and public facilities, and downtown revitalization, which is available to view on the Chamber's website. For the audience, I ask that you refrain from participating in the forum in any other way than quiet observation. Please hold any applause or comments until the end of the forum. This is for your benefit, as we have lots of information to get through this evening, and any interruption will lessen the time that you'll have to hear from your candidates. If you have a cell phone with you, please turn it to off or vibrate so that we aren't interrupting anybody's answers. We'll be accepting written questions from the audience this evening, which will be collected by chamber volunteers. Hands up, chamber volunteers who are collecting questions over here, and delivered to designated forum scrutineers. If you have a question to submit, please hold up your hand during the debate, and they'll be collected by a volunteer. The questions may or may not be included into our program this evening at my discretion. Now, without any further ado, I'd like to invite the audience to join me in welcoming to the stage the 2013 new council candidates for the City of Medicine Hat. In alphabetical order, Mr. Jim Black. Mr. Bill Cox. Mr. Mike Davis. Ms. Julie Friesen. Ms. Kathy Glasgow. Mr. Kathleen Klassen. Mr. Barry Knodel. Mr. Jamie McIntosh. Ms. Selena Simmons. Mr. Jim Turner. And last but not least, Mr. Brian Varga. Did we get everybody? Good, that's a good sign. Okay, before we get to the hot topics of this evening, each candidate will have 1 minute to deliver an opening statement, which we ask includes their reasons for joining the 2013 election race and their qualifications and experience that will help them to govern the city. We'll begin the opening statement from Mr. Black. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. My name's Jim Black. I've been married 47 years to my best friend, Darlene. We've lived in Medicine Hat now for 12 years. I bring to the candidacy 15 years of board experience. I've sat on the Children's Services Board, the Palliser Health Board, and recently I was elected to the Provincial Board for the Alberta Teachers Association. I come from an experience of using evidence-based decision-making for making decisions. The beauty of that is that politics, personality, and emotion are taken out of making decisions. You focus on the evidence to make your decisions. I've been involved in decisions provincially in terms of dealing with government, in terms of health care for the region. And for those of you who remember the old Palliser Health Board, I think our model of governance stood out pretty well once we were disbanded and you saw what came after us. My secondary reason for running is anytime I have a chance to be on the inside making decisions, I've always stuck my nose in there and tried to do that.
And that's time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Candidates, that's how it's done. Now we'll hear from Mr. Cox. Your opening statement, please. 60 seconds.
First of all, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Thank you to the listeners and viewers that are watching this forum at home. You show by your interest in this election that you care about Medicine Hat, and certainly I'm known to care about Medicine Hat, and that's why I'm running in this election. I believe I bring enthusiasm, experience, and integrity to the decision-making process. I speak of experience because I was previously on council from 1998 to 2007 for 3 terms. I speak of my experience also as a lawyer. I can hear the groans already, but and I'm not suggesting that you want a council that's made up entirely of lawyers any more than you want a council made up of any one profession. But I do think that my experience as a lawyer with over 35 years practicing law in the city of Medicine Hat does bring certain skills and decision-making, problem-solving abilities to the table.
Time. Mr. Davis, you're next.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. A lot of people have been asking me, hey, you're getting into politics, and, they're pretty excited for me. And I said, yeah, I'm definitely getting into politics. Then I started thinking, what was politics? So last night, as I'm trying to think of this speech, I decided to Google it. And what I came up with is the root of it was the practice and the theory of influencing people on an individual or civic level. So I was thinking, am I actually influencing everybody? Because really the reason I'm running is because you're going to get Mike Davis. And what Mike Davis stands for is I'm going to be the voice of business in this community. I decided to go on for council because we need the city's stagnant. We have to get moving forward. And with my determination and my progress that I want to put into this for the next 4 years, we need to get this city moving. And that's really why I was running. So maybe I'm not a politician. I'm just more of a hard worker, and my dedication will show over the time. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Friesen.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you are here tonight and watching at home because you are as interested and passionate about this city as I am. I'm very encouraged by the amount of public engagement I've seen at this election. I'm grateful for it. And I see a public that wants to move our city forward just like I do, and I see that you want change. I want to talk about development of leadership and vision, development of economic development of a business-friendly community, a welcoming community, development of continued development of quality of life, and those things are linked. They are pillars together for our ongoing community development. I want to talk about our critical infrastructure and our youth engagement and development of a process and a team of council that together with you helps move our council forward. You want council to be part of a team that helps move this city forward with you. I want to be part of that team. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Glasgow.
I'm Kathy Glasgow, and I've been here since 1969, which is a long time ago. I've done many things, and some of them are in the public sector, and some of them are in the private sector. I've been an owner and operator of businesses in the oil field, and I've also been a teacher for 27 years. So I've been on both sides of the playing field as far as public and private sector go. The reason I ran here is because I have time. I have time, I'm a very hard worker, and I have a lot of experience with teamwork. 9 of my years of teaching were spent in bringing at-risk students back to out of conflict situations and back into the mainstream. So I have very high, really, really good skills in difficult situations and difficult people. And I work really well as a team. There's no better team worker than one that can deal with conflict management. And I'm very good at that. And like I said, I have the time for that. I've worked on boards at the local level.
My name's Kat Clausen, and I'm not a politician. I don't like bending over backwards for people. I don't like agreeing with people that I don't agree with. And I like coming up with my own ideas, which we can all say politicians have trouble with. Why am I here then? What's the reason for this? Well, it's because I think that nobody else running, standing before you, has the ability to offer many of the things that I can offer, that you will see from me as this night goes on. I have capabilities that I don't want to just talk about, and I can't compete up here with the experience because there's some very experienced individuals up here. What do I have to contribute It's pure creativity, pure, unabashed willingness to move forward, not hold on to any preconceived notions of anything, and to understand that the world today is not necessarily the world yesterday, and we don't necessarily.
Thank you. In my talking to people as I've been going out, one of our citizens said to me, "We want somebody to just listen." Another citizen said, "We want somebody, when we talk to them, we want them to want to solve the problem and provide answers, look for creative solutions." I spent 38 years listening and providing creative solutions. It helped me create a success in business. I believe I'll create consensus on council. I believe council will move forward with me on it. I have a perspective that will create excitement as we go forward. I believe my perspective will create confidence in the future for our city. Thank you very much.
Mr. McIntosh.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm up here tonight because I am passionate about this community. I'm passionate about the exceptional arts and culture opportunities we have, our sports and recreation, our unbelievable river valley, and our community spirit. But I'm also up here tonight because I have concerns. I have concerns that people have stopped moving to our community and our economic growth has stalled. We need as a community to come together on the 21st of October and elect a group of people who share a vision and the foresight to come together and create a foundation on which we're going to be able to grow for the next 5, 10, and 20 years to ensure that our kids and our grandkids are going to be able to enjoy this community in the same way that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons.
Hi, my name is Selena, and I'm running for City Council because I feel that the next step that I want to take in my journey in this community is to sit on City Council and represent you. I believe that the biggest issue that we face in this community right now is the lack of business growth and the lack of population growth. And in my career, I've spent my career working in not-for-profit in such organizations as the United Way, Big Brothers Big Sisters, McMahon Community Family Services, and most recently the Santa Claus Fund. And what I've learned from that is that a thriving business community, a healthy government, builds a vibrant community, and I think that we can get there with the right council. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Turner.
Good evening, and thank you all for coming out tonight. My reason, too, for running for City Council is the lack of growth we've shown over the last number of years. Just this weekend, I was talking to one of the local realtors, and something that really hit me hard was the fact that there's 750,000 square feet of commercial property sitting empty in this city. Now, that is a lot of economic activity we are missing. And we really need, as a council, to make sure we have policies in place to get those spaces filled with people working there and generating jobs. I mean, that is just vitally important to us. Now that I'm in the not-for-profit world, and our food bank is basically operated by total donations. It's a lot easier to get donations when businesses are doing well. And we have citizens in this community that are in need. And for us to help them, we need to make sure that the business community is doing well.
And time. And finally, we'll hear from Mr. Varga.
For the past 32 years, I've been a part of this great community. It started out as a youngster, and now I'm 52 years old. So I'm looking forward to leading the city in a new direction, to move forward, to try and get some things done. And I think to be a person that really works with the people of Medicine Hat. I think the people of Medicine Hat deserve that. I've been a worker in this community for 32 years out in the field, and I've done a number of things for that time period. I've been a part of a team for most of my life as a hockey player, and I believe that's an important part of council. We have to be a strong team. We can't go this way and that way. We have to believe in our vision, which most of the people have said here, but I think it's time that we as councillors take it to the limits and make sure that we're going to grow and prosper and bring in business and keep our kids here in Medicine Hat. I think it's important that we keep as many people here as possible. That's why I'm running for council.
Thank you. Well, thanks, candidates, for your cooperation so far. Now that we've heard from all the candidates, we'll move on to the question and debate portion of tonight's event. Okay, question number 1. If elected, what will be your top strategic priority while in office, and what actions will you implement in regards to that priority? It's a tough one to answer in 60 seconds. And we'll go to candidate Friesen first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. My top strategic priority in the next term, it's going to be complex, but if I can boil it down to a few words, I would say that it would be building a vision for this community that includes a much stronger business sector that helps bring more people in, one that engages youth, one that sees youth entrepreneurship flourishing, one that has a team environment where strong leadership is a focus, and where we're ensuring that all of the components of our city as we move forward together are strong. This sounds quite complex. I too am very concerned about a number of things in this city and feel that we're moving backwards rather than forwards. But we have to start with a foundation, a solid foundation together, and work as a team along with you towards that vision.
Candidate Varga.
Well, I think as priorities for myself are, of course, the flood mitigation is a big part of the process here, where we make sure that the flooding's not going to happen again in Medicine Hat. So we have to go after the government of Alberta and maybe the government of Canada and try and get the money in here for our infrastructure so that we can stop it from happening again. I think my other priorities would be the number of plans that we've passed over the past 4 to 6 years within Medicine Hat. There's a lot of them that are on the shelves. Have we really gone forward with them? We've got the best plans that made up and they're sitting on the shelf, and I believe we really have to go forward and implement some of these plans, like the airport, like the flats. I think there's 6 plans on the table that council has approved in the last 6 years, and I'm hoping that some of that implementation, the actions can take place so that we can get them going, even the downtown revitalization. So there's lots of plans that are on the table, and I hope we can get them done.
Okay. Councillor Knodel.
Good evening.
Sorry, candidate Knodel.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Cobley.
it's not because he's my cousin-in-law. Okay, can you start his time over, please?
One of the strategies that I plan to use is, I was talking to a business owner recently, and he told me it took a year to get his permit, the conditions removed from his permit to accomplish the purchase of the strip of land he wanted to. It took a year, and it finally happened on the final day when the permit was to expire. I'm going to get the city to conform to its uniform quality management plan, which they signed on in 2009, and adhere to the rules, have the administration adhere to those rules and reduce those permit times down to those required in that document. And it's going to take the burdens off of small businesses, going to unchain them, and they're going to be able to go forward. Thank you.
Candidate Turner.
Well, my top priority would definitely be streamlining our approval process as well. I mean, that has to be the first thing we do before we start to go out and try to promote business retention and new businesses coming into the community. I'd also like to see us get a real tourism strategy where we actually involve the people in the tourism industry to become involved in our planning. Right now, I don't think that is being done, and really, if we want to attract those people to our community, we need to talk to the people who are involved in that industry and just find out what we need to do to accomplish that. The bottom line is we really have to find ways to get people to move here, to visit here. We just need more people in Medicine Hat, and that will certainly help our economic activity.
Candidate Clausen.
I find we have talked frequently about the streamlining of the bureaucratic process, but on top of that, I think the city has to be willing to invest financial capital resources into incoming business in order to recruit the highest quality business options, in order to make sure that we receive a lot more for our community than simply the basics. I believe that we require an enhanced level of development in order to continue to provide the services to which our community members have become accustomed.
Candidate Cox.
Flood mitigation, of course, is critical, but it would appear from last night's council meeting that a plan is in place. I would have liked to have seen it worked out over 2 years. They're saying 3, but there's a good plan in place and they're going to get the job done. We've got to move on from there. Certainly the economic climate in this city appears to be stagnated. And when I look at the downtown core, and I think of people coming to Medicine Hat or who are considering coming to Medicine Hat, they must look at the number of empty businesses and blocks of nothing happening and really question why they would choose to move or relocate here. There's lots of good reasons, don't get me wrong, but I think that a good strategic kickoff to our economic redevelopment would be to get something happening in the downtown, and the city's going to have to invest money and partner with the private developer to get that happening.
Okay, Candidate Simmons.
My number one priority would be to grow business in this community. I think that we have to create opportunities for business to come here rather than creating barriers all the time. $70 out of every $100 approximately of tax dollars are corporate dollars. And so if we bring a bigger tax base here, then those corporate dollars will flow in, and all of us as taxpayers, personal taxpayers, won't have to worry about our own taxes going up. So I think that that has to be our number one priority. Once they get here, we have to be able to help them immediately instead of putting up a ton of barriers. So I hope to address that. As well, I think we have to look at a solid marketing strategy to look at how are we going to attract business here over the long term, and businesses that are high-paying jobs for our children as well. Thank you.
Candidate Black.
Thank you. The first step in the long journey to improving business opportunities in the city, in my point of view, is, and I heard this time and time again in the last year I've been talking to people, is that there needs to be a change of culture at City Hall. It seems that, in the words of one individual, there's a culture of enforcement as opposed to a culture of how may I help you, how may I guide you through the inevitable red tape you're going to face here, what steps can I use to help you do what you want to do. In talking to some businessmen, 8 months process is too much. I talked to a businessman the other day who thought about starting business, said I just couldn't face the 8 months I knew I was going to have to face at City Hall. So I think the first step in this long journey is to improve the culture at City Hall. There's fine people there's no question about that. But there has to be some steps taken to help businessmen navigate through the red tape. Businessmen will attract business just as doctors attract doctors to our community.
Candidate Davis.
Yes, this is a great question because I know I think our main priority is definitely going to be with City Hall for sure. As a businessman myself, I've had the red tape experience. We can't get past that until we review our policies and our procedures of how we're actually going about business in this city. Our biggest competition is to our neighbors, Red Cliff and Cypress County. Bow Island's really stepping it up. We're losing a lot of business there. I believe looking at an approach of having a sales team on Medicine Hat, like I know we're looking at a one-stop shop, but having a sales team there that greet the customer after the frontline staff have, has basically decided business or residential. Let's have these people go, and take them through the process, and they only have to deal with one person. And we're not selling that until we change those policies down there. To go out and promote tourism, people are coming here and then they're being discouraged and they're going somewhere else. And that's the way I felt too. So definitely we have to review that. That's a major factor.
Candidate Glasgow.
There's a lot of talk about economic development in downtown, and that is all really important. But I think the people of Medicine Hat need to feel really safe. And so I'm going to jump on the flood mitigation and make sure that the people that have been affected by that is a top priority. Now, I know yesterday at City Hall they did get this going, but I think we really have to look at that and make sure that that fear that the people felt when those floodwaters were coming is gone. And they have a plan in place right now. And also I think on that we could jump on looking at the whole river valley as a worldwide tourist attraction and try to really develop that into an area where people can come with their small businesses, employ 10 to 15 people, and increase our population and our tax base like that.
And finally, over to Candidate McIntosh.
Strategically, I I look at this as a long-term process as well, because I think the key that we need to be focusing on is changing the way that we look at ourselves and look at our community. I think over the last several years, we perhaps have become a little bit complacent in a variety of different things, be it tourism, be it our economic growth. We have the dividends coming in, and it's easy money, and it's easy just, I guess, to get comfortable with that. I see some key areas that we need to focus on. First, rebranding our city. There's been a lot of talk over the last couple of weeks as I've been out and I've been talking to the different candidates. There's an excitement out there about getting rid of the gas city and getting on to something better. Something that's going to attract people to our community and get them excited about it. It involves revitalization, and it also involves business growth. They all come hand in hand when we change the way we look at our own community and ourselves. Thanks.
Thank you, candidates. Question number 2. The second topic we'd like to explore in tonight's debate is quality of life. From your perspective, what are the key barriers facing Medicine Hat in its ability to attract new businesses, professionals, physicians, and skilled laborers, and what are your solutions for removing these barriers? We're going to start with candidate Knodel.
Well, I feel that one of the quality of life or quality for life issues, as the one young man in last week's seminar said, I've got all kinds of training, but the most pay I can receive is about $13 an hour. He's been to school. He's made the commitment. So for those people who've made that commitment, we need to make a commitment to reduce the burden on businesses coming to Medicine Hat. We need to use incentives where necessary. We need to work with developers. We need to let them make things happen, and let's get some competition for that young man's services and many others like them. Thank you.
Candidate Simmons.
I think, again, I want to talk a little bit about job growth and employment, because I think that what we're talking about here is how do we keep our youth here while we have jobs for them. So I think that that's really important. I also think that we have to be able to invest in our community. So when we look at why young people come to a community, it's for the amenities, right? It's for what do you have? What do you have to do? So when we talk about the river and those kinds of things, I think there are some opportunities there for us to bring young people. I also think that I've talked with some doctors the last few weeks who have said that it's really difficult for a doctor to move to Medicine Hat because there's nowhere for them to practice that isn't going to cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars to get started. So I think we really have to look at some opportunities that are out there right now to bring some urgent care clinics and those kind of things to our community so that we can bring young professionals here. 20,000 people in our community do not have a family doctor, according to my doctor. So that needs to change. If I was a young family, I wouldn't come here if I couldn't get a doctor for my children.
Candidate Clausen.
Quality of life. What do we do about our quality of life? We get out there and hustle, because that's what we really, really haven't been doing. We're starting to see everything just slumping, everything looking a little weak. Does our community suck yet? No, but I guarantee you, if you give us another 15 years, it could. So then what do we got to do? What do we really got to do? Just get out there and hustle. We want doctors, we attract doctors. We want business, we attract business. Simple alterations in policy and the community effort. The only thing stopping any community from achieving anything is simply the effort they are willing to expend to achieve it. Getting people all on the same page. And if there's anything this election is telling me, it's we're all on the same page, because I haven't heard any of us councillors really fight each other at all. It's hard to get a debate going. So if we're all on the same page, let's get out there and really push things through.
All right. So what you're saying is we need a really good fight going on here, right? Yeah, okay. I'm into that. Candidate Black.
Well, I'm not ready for a fight with you, but I think having sat on the health board, I understand the challenges around recruiting doctors. It's not as simple as it sounds, and that's why I mentioned the comment about doctors do a good job of recruiting doctors. So if you want to improve their chances of setting up a practice here, you need to set up some sort of environment where they know they have a chance to get started. And one of those things you can do, I think, in a city, from the city's point of view, is if a doctor wants to start an office renovating a building someplace, you've got to set up some ways that he can reduce his costs by perhaps looking at taking away the tipping fees out of the dump or utility hookups. Because I'm told from business people that when they've looked at renovating buildings downtown, before they even put a hammer to a nail, they're $30,000 in a hole. So one of the things the city could do is take away some of those impediments, not just for doctors setting up offices, but for businesses as well.
All right, candidate Turner.
Well, when you talk about quality of life, we have a lot of great things to offer right now. We have great climate, fantastic recreation facilities, more of them coming online, great walking trails. So I think a part of the issue is people don't know about these great things we have in Medicine Hat, and we have to let the world know that. When it comes to doctors, it's not only just the doctors we have to convince to come here; it's the doctors' families. We have to make sure that we have things to offer them, and we do have the Esplanade and we have the college here, and that's got to be all part of the package that we present to them when we're trying to entice them to come here, because there is a unbelievably world shortage of doctors, and for them to relocate to Medicine Hat, we have to make a pretty argument that they should come here, and that's that's something we really have to work at is with our physician recruitment committee, and put that package together.
Candidate Davis.
So many factors that I'm just thinking about the question that tie into each other, because for quality of life, the city has been stagnant, but we do offer so much. So how are we not getting that word out? And I'm just maybe going back into my own, what barriers are stopping us, because we need the business here. We need, and like I still go back to City Hall. Once we change that, I think we can really go and be effective in going out and promoting our city, because that's what I do for a living as a hobby. I promote Medicine Hat for the last 15 years. I bring events to this city. I try to make it exciting. So that's something that I do for the city. But, we just really need to step it up. Like Kat's saying, we have to go out and sell ourselves. And I think there's the EDA. They're looking after southeastern Alberta, but there's nobody standing up for us that's going out there specifically for Medicine Hat and promoting our tourism. And I think that will be the main issue as well, and to jump up.
Candidate Varga.
To me, I think every person that sits in this room here tonight has a different thought on what the quality of life is in Medicine Hat. Some like the low taxes, some like the utility rates, some like all the facilities that we have, some like all the parks, the trails, some like the swimming pools. I mean, there's a lot of different things that blend into what's the quality of life for the people of Medicine Hat. I think what Medicine Hat has to do is build on that. I think we have to talk to the people. We have to find out what we don't have, and then go after some of the things that you feel that we're missing in this city. I believe that when we do that and we get the answers from you guys, we can move forward with building this quality of life even better than what we have right now, which isn't that bad to a lot of us, but to some of us it is. But I think we can make it a lot better just by talking to the people of Medicine Hat. So that's the direction I'd go with being a councillor in this city.
Okay, candidate Glasgow.
In any basic economic course, you will learn about competition, and competition will increase wages, it will decrease prices of goods, it will increase opportunities, and it will increase services. And that's what everybody's saying up here. Those are the things that we need to increase. And so the way to do that is to increase the competition here in Medicine Hat, and that is to bring in more people and more businesses. Now, whether we do that through incentive programs, whether it's utilities, taxes, land, that could be on some kind of a graduated scale, that would have some kind of a contingency component tied to that. The city can give you this kind of an advantage if you can give us this kind of a commitment. And I think that is the only way. And it's basic economics. It's competition, and that's what we need.
Candidate Cox.
I think we all agree we have a great quality of life here. It's either why we stayed, why we returned, or why we came here. There's a lot of things that are wonderful about living in Medicine Hat. And as Brian pointed out, it may be something different to each one of us, but it's the combination of options that are available here. What we don't seem to be doing a good job of is celebrating that and selling it to the rest of the world. I think part of what we need to do here is look at our rebranding our community. The gas city is getting a bit tired, and this isn't the only thing that's great about living in Medicine Hat is the abundance of natural gas and what it's done for us. It's done great things, but there's so many other things, and I think of the downtown, our Esplanade, a lot of the Medicine Hat College. All of these things are vital, and we need to find a better way of selling those to the rest of the country.
Candidate McIntosh.
It's been so long since I've heard the question. I'm trying to rethink back to the beginning here. The question related to what barriers impact our quality of life here. I came to Medicine Hat in 2001 from another community. I found it to have an exceptional quality of life, and I still do today. The cost of homes are incredibly inexpensive. We have subsidized taxes. Our amenities are exceptional. There's more money going into our recreation services right now that are going to expand what we're offering, and there's even a possible of a renovation taking place at the Southridge Y that's going to make a huge impact on our quality of life and what we offer here. In terms of a barrier, I think the key issue that we need to focus on is the lack of diverse, well-paying jobs. We've been living in an economy focused on specific utilities, and we've faced a lot of struggles as a result of that. And we need to address that to fix our problems. Thanks.
And finally, candidate Friesen.
Thank you. I agree that we have a tremendous quality of life in Medicine Hat, and when I think of quality of life, I think of parks and recreation opportunities, culture, events, facilities, all the wonderful things we have here. I'm not sure as a community we really even know what our barriers are. This is an interesting question because I honestly think we need to analyze this thing and not do it alone. You know, we need to convene a group of young professionals and say, what are the things that would make it important and valuable for you to choose to live here? What are the things that are keeping you away from here? We need to look at real reduction in those barriers once we figure out exactly what they all are. And I know that we have to create a more seamless entry for business and development that is not, I don't want to use the word red tape, but I like the word welcoming better. We're just not good at being welcoming. So I think that's a barrier. I think we need to celebrate our success.
Okay. Few of the folks touched about natural gas. You might have maybe taken a look at my script, because guess what? That's the next question. For 10 points, no, just kidding. The low price of natural gas has yet to recover in 5 years since the financial recession hit. Where do you envision our natural gas and petroleum resources division to be in the short and long term? What do you believe is the best management practice for this business unit, and how do you think it would be best operated? Candidate Simmons.
I have to admit that this is one area that I would need to learn a little bit more about, but from what I've seen so far and from the research that I've done and the people that I've talked to, you know, natural gas prices are cyclical, we know that, and if we had sold our utility or changed the way we did it way back in the 60s, we might have been sorry in the 80s and 90s when it boomed. So I'm in favor of finding out a little bit more, of getting some more professionals who know a little bit more about natural gas and can come in and help us run it. But like I say, it's cyclical, so we know that that's going to happen. I also had heard from another candidate that the low natural gas prices can actually play as a positive for us. So we could use the low natural gas prices to recruit businesses that use natural gas and get them here because it's low right now. So we can offer that, and it can be a benefit of Medicine Hat. So,
okay. Candidate Cox.
We've been in the natural gas business as a community for over 130 years. Gas prices may be low right now, but why do you think Methanex came back? Why do you think they left in the first place? They left because the price went up. They came back because the price went down. So it presents challenges to the city that's owning the gas field and got to manage that resource, prepare itself for the future, and we've become used to a pretty high dividend on selling natural gas, and that margin is being eroded significantly. But we can weather this storm the way we've weathered other storms. We'll come out the other end, and we need to take advantage of this new opportunity.
Candidate Friesen.
Thank you. It's a two-part question as I understand it. First of all, in the short and the long term, I say that we are still in the business of owning our own energy. We are diversified. So we are already, but that diversification continues to grow based on what's going to serve the people of Medicine Hat the best. So we are a blend of gas, of oil, of power, power by wind and solar, and some other possible technologies that come along that we are not afraid to be innovative and creative about, that help make a diversified portfolio, just like you have a financial portfolio. I see, you asked about a best management practice. I'd like to comment on that as well. I think we need to do take a hard, strong look critically at some strategic planning around the energy and letting people know where we're going. Right now we're using the gas. People don't quite understand how that's working. They don't really know what the oil stuff means.
Time. Candidate Turner.
Well, I think when you're looking into the future and what's happening with fracking in all of North America, I don't see the price of natural gas coming back anytime soon. However, we should be looking at how we can manage that utility and make it a little more profitable. I think we could also look at seeing we're generating electricity using natural gas is possibly increasing our electrical generation and selling that extra electricity into the grid when prices are right. I do have to say I have some concerns about our oil field purchase down in Manyberries. I think the jury is still out on that one, whether we're going to make any money there or not. Here again, we're dealing with a very volatile commodity, and who knows, we could be looking at oil prices down in the $60 or $70 a barrel range, and then, where are we at? So, I mean, we're in this business, and unfortunately, world markets dictate the prices of it. We really can't do much about that. So,
Time. Candidate Glasgow.
The natural gas price is low right now, but again, that has been said before, that can be used as an incentive. I think we really need to stay diversified in this energy portfolio with oil, gas, wind, geothermal power, solar. We're the sunniest city in Canada. Let's work on that. We need to keep looking in those areas. We always have to be cognizant of our environmental footprint. And so we can't just keep this portfolio at oil and gas. Again, management practice was another part of the question. And I believe we need to ask the experts. Most people that sit on city council are not oil experts or gas experts or any kind of energy experts. Not that they don't know a lot, they do, but I think we need to go to the real experts and stop trying to reinvent the wheel, get that information and manage that portfolio. We have really, we make lots of money in Medicine Hat from this energy portfolio, and that keeps our taxes low. So we need to keep it diversified.
Time. Candidate Knodel.
I think we need to look at the low price of natural gas as an opportunity. The first opportunity is to use the lower or reduced prices to go back to the format where we used to have low natural gas for industries, and that's where one of our biggest dividends will come from, is in the greater impact the industries will have using that product. The second thing is to take this opportunity to have or install a board of directors to help manage that utility and make it even more profitable. So in the long term, this looked on as an opportunity will be a blessing as we go forward. Thank you.
Candidate Davis.
Well, I guess I go back to being a new runner for this energy division is something I definitely want to embrace as much as I can. That would be one of my main focuses. But I do go back to the Hat advantage. We used to have it with all the lowest utilities in the city, or the country. And I think we need to use it to our advantage again. If we're the gas prices are going to go cyclical anyway. So and I definitely believe we still hold on to it. It will come around. But I love the diversification that we do have in Medicine Hat. So it's and tapping into the wind. Definitely getting more into the solar power. But I still feel actually we should have a good board of board members that will help us determine what we want to do for the future with this, and use the natural gas to our advantage. Because I think if we can attract, if we can be that far apart out, that we can offer lower gas prices than everybody else, then maybe we can help attract new families here.
Time. Candidate McIntosh.
People that follow the oil and gas industry know that this is not just a Medicine Hat issue right now where we're facing challenges generating revenue selling oil and gas. This is across the board. We are fortunate that we have been able to use our gas to generate significant revenue over the last 12 months in terms of selling our electricity back to the grid, which is as it's been referred to, a natural hedge should prices slump, as they have been. And unfortunately, I'm fairly certain that these prices are going to remain low for an extended period of time just due to the glut of gas that will be available. But we do have to twist it and take a negative and turn it into a positive and make sure that we are finding those businesses that can utilize that gas, such as Methanex, and make sure the opportunities are provided to them, entice them to come here, we increase our tax base, and then we get another positive
Time.
out of.
Candidate Black.
Thank you. I was a little bit concerned when I first started this venture about utility management and oil wells and things like that. But as I've asked more and more questions, I've come to realize that the Medicine Hat advantage is low gas prices. I mean, we talked about earlier about attracting business. Why not use that as an attraction? I was down at City Hall last night, and they reported that in the natural gas sector, they lost 21 million. But because gas price is low, we generated 115 million in electricity. And in the last 4 years, we've paid back a dividend to the city of about $143 million. So I think we're focusing on natural gas, but we're also using that to generate electricity into the grid, which is a good thing. So by my calculation, that's a net gain of about $80 million for the city. That's a good thing. As far as a management strategy goes, diversification, diversification, diversification.
Candidate Varga.
Well, again, I'm not going to say that I'm an expert in the gas field, and I probably will never say that, but I'd like to learn more about it. But from hearing what people have talked about and just what Mr. Black had said, the gas is still making us money in the long run. Even though it's low, Medicine Hat is still making money in some way with the gas fields that we have and in the ways that we produce it and make it work for our city. So at this particular moment, we might have to look at new ways to find how to make that gas make us more money, or new inventions that'll use our gas, maybe some new industry that'll come into our town that needs cheap gas. We have a few of those industries right now in town. Maybe they have to expand. Maybe they're going to use more of our gas. That way down the road, we're going to make a little bit more money. So to be an expert in the field, I'm not, but I think that we can find some experts that know what to do in this situation and make us a little bit more money with the gas fields that we do have. So this is what I hope for the future.
Candidate Klassen.
Medicine Hat is more than just a city. We're an energy powerhouse. And that's not a bad thing. Energy is making us money. It's a good thing. Canada, energy economy. Alberta, energy economy. Yeah, it's all good. But we have to diversify beyond that significantly, because we cannot attempt to guarantee our long-term future with merely the energy assets that we have. There's not a lot I can say about natural gas or the oil fields that other people don't already know a lot better than I do. But I do know this, that existing in industry and playing that game has been a very beneficial gambit for our city. So I wish that, I would like for our city to continue playing these kinds of gambits. Although with a more diversified portfolio strategy, perhaps with some more tech-based interests in there and whatnot, things that exist separate from our own geographic advantages, because...
Time. Well, congratulations, candidates. I mean, to fit those logical comments into a 60-second slug is just phenomenal, in my opinion. You all got to be expert Twitterers as well to be able to fit a rational comment into 140 characters. I know I'm still learning. My daughter's still trying to teach me. All right, just a reminder, if you have a question that you want posed, hold up your hand, and a volunteer will come and pick it up for you. Okay, our next questions are related to off-site levies. Now, this one's a long one. The off-site levy bylaw review commenced in April 2012 with involvement from the Medicine Hat and District Chamber of Commerce, the Canadian Home Builders Association, the Urban Development Institute, the Intensification Redevelopment Area, a greenfield developer, and a citizen at large. After receiving the final costs and off-site levy amounts, there was concern over the impact that off-site levies would have on development, growth, and the overall rate shock of the increase to the development. If the off-site levies bylaw is implemented without consideration of an assist factor, Medicine Hat will transition from one of the lowest off-site levies in the province to one of the highest, with the fees similar to that of Calgary. What is your position on offering a municipal assist or development benefit towards the off-site levies? And we're going to start with Councillor Davis. And he's saying, no, not me first, please, please.
The question? No.
Yeah, no.
Anyways, no. Off-site levies, I totally believe in giving an assist to the developers for sure. You know, that's the only way we're going to be able to develop a lot of land. If it's not making much tax sitting there blowing dust and tumbleweeds across it, it's no good to us at all. So I think giving this, we have to be able to let the developers, you know, as a city, we need to, I think, also put in the road infrastructure. Let's get all the basically infrastructure set in place. Then developers can go in and they're not having to charge so much per lot, so they're breaking it all down. Because, you know, if you're selling 100 lots, you know, your price at the end of the day, because you're going to have to, you know, hook each house up back up to power, water. But I think if we assist them along the way, is a huge development. We shouldn't be as high as Calgary or anybody. You know, we should have that advantage again to bring in new younger families, bring people to the city, and but that's, I just believe, what we need to do.
Okay, now we'll move to candidate Knodel.
Well, I believe that the system that they have right now, where they're taking the off-site levies from 66,000 a hectare to 266,000, is an absolute impediment. If we were Calgary, which has 295,000 a hectare off-site levies, we should possess 1.2 million within our city limits and have one of the most vibrant economies in North America. We do not. So with the system that they have, when you have developers planning to spend or commit to millions of dollars and all the jobs that they create and that spin off from that, we need to give them an absolute stable target so that when they commit for years down the road, they know what their costs are going to be. Otherwise, we discourage them. So let's get that right. Thank you.
Candidate Cox.
It appears the pendulum has swung from one of the lowest to one of the highest. Land development should not be a taxpayer-subsidized industry. On the other hand, it's got to be fair and competitive and not detrimental to the development of the city. So it would appear that in resetting the off-site levies, not only did we start to include things that should have been included there all along and weren't, maybe we've included them at rates or in categories that other communities are not. I'm prepared to consider the assist factor, but the bottom line is, what's the price of land? What's the price of land, including its development? And I think you'll find that in Medicine Hat, price of land is one of the lowest in the province, always has been. It's largely because the city has owned a lot of its own land and been able to offer that at a very favorable rate to the people that are looking to buy.
Time. Candidate Varga.
I guess for me, it's a point of how did we get to this point? Why did we get to this point, and why all of a sudden now that we're going to have these high rates? If we'd be looking at this over the years and maybe having a small increase over the past few years, I don't know when the last study was done or when they looked at it the last time. So I'm just wondering what it took to get to this point and why we're at this point that everybody has to feel the brunt of it now. So I think that for sure we're going to have an assist program, or I don't think we're going to move forward within our city. And developers aren't going to like what's going to happen, what's the cost is going to be, and what they have to pass on to the customers. So I'm hoping that we can find an even keel or somewhere in the middle where we can help these people out down the road, and we keep it to a minimum or to wherever we can keep it to, and then move forward from there, just so that there's not a big increase all at once, because it's going to shut us down.
Candidate Simmons. Simmons.
I'm hoping I can get this in 60 seconds, but first of all, it's really important to understand what off-site levies are. If a developer buys a piece of land, they already pay for the development within that land. Off-site levies are the cost that it takes to bring all of the services to the land. So right now, as it currently stands, developers are already paying for the inside of their development. We're talking about bringing services. All that the developers, from my perspective, are asking for is for a road assist to help them bring the roads to their development, which I think is completely reasonable. The biggest competition we have in our community is Redcliffe and Dunmore. So they can sell land a heck of a lot cheaper than we can here. So we have businesses that are moving out to Redcliffe and Dunmore and understand that they are paying taxes in perpetuity forever to Dunmore and Redcliffe versus to us. And so if we have to pay a little bit in the short term to get the long-term gain of taxes in perpetuity, we're going to be much better off. So I would be in favor of helping the developers with this.
Candidate Friesen.
Thank you. This is a complex issue, and it's certainly not black or white. While I realize that we should all pay for things we all use, like roads, it is not that simple in my mind. There's tremendous benefit to the community through the development, through developers developing a piece of property, whether it be residential or industrial or commercial or whatever. Tremendous benefit to the community. So it's not that simple. I personally support an assist factor, and I see that we have to negotiate about a road assist factor. I don't think we can have this up and down. It can be a mutual win-win, and we need to find a balance, in my view, because otherwise we'll have a self-fulfilling prophecy of a community that is not growing.
Candidate Klassen.
I think right here there's a fundamental disconnect in the understanding of the differences between causation and correlation. Economic development is a causal factor in residential development. Residential development is an indicator of economic activity, but it is not a cause of economic activity, so thereby the viewpoint that giving developers a hand with these levies and whatnot is an investment on the behalf of the city is kind of weak, because our return is far less than what we could receive investing said capital into another enterprise. There is a difference, however, between residential and industrial and business-based development, and that's what I'd like to talk about. I have no issues with giving a helping hand to business-based development in our community, but I do not see residential development as being economically...
Time. Candidate Turner.
Well, this is one issue that the new council is going to have to deal with probably pretty early in their term, probably in November. And I think the current economic situation in Medicine Hat, we really have to make the right decision there and make sure that our land prices are more than competitive. You know, we just can't say we want to be the same as Calgary or Lethbridge or Dunmore or Redcliffe. Basically, maybe this is a thing that we could be using to make us much more competitive and entice businesses here. If we're looking at giving them incentives to come here, whether it's going to be a tax break, a break on utilities, or maybe a break on these municipal assists, something has to be done to entice people to come to this community or businesses to come to this community. And yes, these things that are being paid for are for all of the citizens, but the creation of jobs is probably the most important thing we can do right now.
Candidate Black.
I knew this dandy was coming, so I did a little research here. I read the Nichols Management Report that was given to council, I think, last February. And in that, I was trying to get an idea of comparing between cities. And in that, they talk about gross hectares, net developed hectares. And I got to admit to you, at that point, I was lost. I didn't know how to make a comparison. So I'm going back to my point of view I had a week ago, was that I think it's fair and reasonable that the taxpayer get involved in the development of roads. We're all going to use them. The developer pay for the services like sewer, electric, and water. And my understanding is that they can also pass that back to the buyer, and it'll be on a bit of a sliding scale because per hectare they can put 20 lots or they can put 14 lots, and that would depend on the price of the lot would be determined by that. So in talking to businessmen for the last year, I think I'm going back to my original point of view, was that they want fair, consistent, and reasonable rules.
I've learned a lot about this issue over the last week. It's quite interesting, actually, and a lot of the comments mentioning the black and white of this. It is not black and white. There's a lot of gray area that needs to be discussed. I am fully in support of a road assist that would cover the cost of the roads that the citizens, all citizens of Medicine Hat would be using. This is going to do several things. It ensures that our developers know the cost of their subdivisions that are going in. They are able to price those accordingly so that they can compete effectively with our communities right outside our door. And that is something that is vital as we talk about economic development. We want to make sure people are living here to help our community grow. And that's something we can do to help the developers. And that increases our tax revenue once again. Thank you.
I as well am in support of the road assist and to the infrastructure up to the development. I think it's imperative to make growth happen. However, we need that fair system, and it has been said here already that we need to look at fair practice. We need to make sure that the cost stays consistent and that it doesn't have these huge jumps. There has to be a plan in place so that when the developer is paying this off-site levy, or the city is paying it, sorry, that we know they know what the cost is going to be, and that they can put that into their budget. And I think we need it, and I think it needs to be fair.
Seconds to answer this one. If elected, would you commit to voting towards a municipal assist or development factor to help offset the off-site levy fees? That's a yes or no. Candidate Turner.
Be voting for in favor of having a municipal assist.
Candidate Cox.
It appears to be necessary, yes.
Candidate Glasgow. Candidate Varga. Candidate Davis.
Certainly.
Candidate Black.
Yes.
Candidate Friesen.
Yes, I'm committed to helping this community grow.
Candidate McIntosh.
Yes.
Candidate Clausen.
Yes, asterisk.
Candidate Simmons.
Yes.
Candidate Knodel.
Absolutely, yes.
Guys, thank you. I mean, and not for the answers to your question, but in 20 years of being on municipal council, 12 years as mayor, when I called a roll, I never ever had individuals speak to yes or no on a question. It was yes but or no but. So thank you for following the rules. Okay, question number 5. Currently, many businesses in Medicine Hat perceive regulations at City Hall to be overburdensome, costly, unnecessary, and frustrating. The business community would like to see a reduction in the regulatory burden on businesses to ensure the City of Medicine Hat is viewed as open for business. As part of the body overseeing the city's administration, what specific directives would you issue to the administration to improve its efficiency and effectiveness? Candidate Cox.
Well, I think there's going to be regulations. There's got to be. This isn't the Wild West. But we need to find a way to make the environment more positive and easier to navigate. So there's been talk about sort of one-stop shopping, perhaps a group of city employees, one of whom would be assigned to a developer who's expressed real interest with a positive program, to say, okay, I'm going to work with you to navigate through this and help facilitate the application for various permits. It's got to be easier. I've been on the sort of receiving end of it, and I've certainly helped clients who are on the receiving end of it. It can be very frustrating. The regulations are necessary. There's got to be an easier way to get to the end result.
Candidate Clausen.
Well,
Just about called you councillor.
It's really obvious. We need to rebuild a lot of what we're doing. It seems to be a prohibitive system, so, you know, fix it. It's all systemic. It's all I's and T's types of stuff, forms and things like that. And that's easy stuff to fix. That's not expensive stuff to deal with. We just got to go in and rebuild stuff, say that this is required here, that's not required there. Really asking people who have had to go through the whole rigmarole about what they could really use when dealing with it and getting that kind of perspective. There's a lot of smart people up here who really want to do that, who have a lot of perspective when it comes to that. So I'm going to leave that more to them.
Candidate Friesen.
I see it with attitude and environment. Now, I want to qualify that by saying we have wonderful people that work for the City of Medicine Hat, and they represent you with a tremendous amount of integrity, and I will not take away from that for 1 second. Having said that, it's up to the council to say, our policy direction will be one of a welcoming attitude, an environment that says, come and see us because we're going to create the pathway with you to make you succeed. We need a development advocate, whether it's one person or two or three or whatever. We need a seamless experience for those developers. We need an approach that crosses departments and divisions, so you're not running over here and then you get sent over there and then you got to do this form and then you go back for another form. It has to be one of, you are welcome here, we are open for business, and the answer is yes.
Candidate Knodel.
Thank you, Your Worship. The mayor and Mr. Bernard signed the Uniform Quality Management program instituted by the Municipal Government Affairs in 2009 in August. To my knowledge, there's never been any conformity to the principles laid out there. I suggest that we meet or exceed those targets that are there. I suggest we put in a policy of measuring and recording and tracking everything. You got to measure it first if you want to know how it's performing. So we put in a system of measurement. We're gonna be able to follow the results, and we should have people in place. My nephew works in Lethbridge, of the city of Lethbridge. He meets a business in 48 hours. He comes back with everything they need to get going. Let's get her done here. Thank you.
Last time somebody called me Your Worship, he was a Welsh person on council with me, and he referred to me as Your Worship. So I wasn't sure whether it was his accent or he was poking at me. Candidate Glasgow.
There's been a lot of talk in the last few weeks as this campaign went on about regulations at City Hall. And I'm a solution kind of person. I don't look to attach blame, and I think that's what everybody needs to do. And not look at let's look at what the solution is, not what the problem is. And the solution is for builders and residential and commercial properties to be able to go to City Hall, to have a process in place that effectively and efficiently gets them through that process that they need of permits, building, whatever they need. Divisions need to work together at City Hall, and the City Council needs to support that and find those solutions. And everybody needs to stop attaching blame to who's doing what wrong. And let's forget about the problem. We know what it is. Let's find the solution.
Candidate Simmons.
I believe as a board of directors, which I have a lot of experience working with, first of all, we set a vision as a board of directors. Then we empower our employees to follow that vision, and then we hold them accountable if they don't. So I think that that's what City Council is all about. It's just a board of directors, really. But I really like the idea of one person who guides the business through the process. So whether that be an executive director or an advocate, whatever you want to call that individual, that's someone that they can always call and say, you know, I don't really understand this process or whatever, and get back to that. I think we have to show that customer service is paramount, and so it's really important that we always have a how can we attitude instead of why can't we. I also think that we need to bring in the stakeholders as well as business owners and the Chamber of Commerce and chat about what processes are a problem and how do we help to fix those. Thank you.
Candidate Varga.
I guess my vision is to change the culture at City Hall. Change the culture, change the attitude. I've heard from too many that it's too much red tape, it's too hard to get a building permit, it's too hard to do business with the city. So I want to try and change it to where we say, yes, you can build that building here. Yes, you can start that business here. Yes, we'll do whatever we can at City Hall to try and help you build that business here. So I think it's time that we change our attitude, we move forward with that, and we don't say no anymore, right? Unless it's something that's right off the wall. We got to start saying yes to all these people that come into our city and want to build a business here. And we got to do whatever it takes to get to that point. I've been out in the work field for a long time, 32 years, like I said, and that's all the comments you hear from them. It's tough to do business with the city. We don't want to do business with the city, and we're going to walk away from it. So it's time to change that culture and that attitude at City Hall as a yes attitude. We're going to do it for you.
Candidate Black.
When I was on the health board, we always looked at problems, not necessarily from a staffing point of view initially, we always looked at them from a systems point of view. And what I'm hearing from businessmen, and I'm not a businessman, so I'm relying on what they're telling me, a lot of what Ms. Glasgow articulated is what they said to me. The issue seems to be a systems problem. It's a department running into a department, running into the department. And their expression to me was, let's just find one way of getting through the system so it can be done expediently and not over a long period of time. I have to go back to the gentleman I talked to last week who said he was thinking about starting a business, didn't want to deal with 8 months of dealing with City Hall. That's a systems problem. That's not a staffing problem.
Candidate McIntosh.
I think the new city council is going to have to sit down with the new CAO and create that vision for how they want things to happen in regards to development and the process. Sitting down then, once that vision is in place, sitting down with those key managers to ensure that whatever process is broken is fixed, sitting down with the business community to find out what exactly they are dealing with. That is going to go a long way to solve this problem that I've been hearing about since I moved here 13 years ago, that we are slow, bogged down, and that is just unacceptable. So the new council needs to fix that, and they will fix that. Thank you.
Candidate Turner.
Well, I think it's not so much the regulations we have, it's the way the regulations are being interpreted by various people in the various departments in the city. And we really have a golden opportunity right now because we are going to be picking a new CEO. And I really want to see a person in that position who is not just an administrator. I want to see somebody there that understands how business operates and is pro-business. And I want to see a team builder there that can get everybody on the same page at City Hall. And I think that's just vitally important to changing the attitude of what's going on there. I've talked to quite a few people who work in City Hall, and they're telling me that it's sometimes hard to get an idea put forward and to have anybody listen to their ideas. And I think, you know, communication is vitally important there, and I think they need to get the feedback from the people who are coming in needs to get back to the senior managers there, and then we all need to work together, City Council and the City Administration.
Time. Candidate Davis.
We feel all the same on how we need that there is a problem there and it needs to be addressed. I think streamlining the process starts with the top. You know, you have the people in the positions. They're not bad, but they're just only being told of what they're doing. They're only basing their decisions on what they're allowed to be. So it goes back to possibly looking at other communities. You know, in sales, I surrounded myself with people that were successful. I always wanted to know what they were doing right. So what about looking at other communities and finding what's working for them? Why are they growing and we're not? Then there's too many people involved in the process. That's the biggest thing that I've had my run-in. And I still go back to, I think we really need to look at having a sales team in this city. Go back to, you know, the good basics that, you know, when they come to the counter, they're getting greeted, they go, great, come on back, let's see what we can do for you. How can we help you with your business in this city? Not just spread it out to different departments, what's their opinion on this, and then wait 2 weeks, and then away we go. So.
Time. Okay, first question from the floor. Many candidates have talked about speeding up process and implementing plans that already exist. All management, and management is underlined a couple times, these are all management issues. What leadership, and leadership's underscored 2 or 3 times, what leadership style will you bring to council? And we're going to start off with candidate Varga.
Well, I think that because this is one of the main issues, I really do believe that we have to go back inside, take a look at what our process is, who's dealing with the process, and then see whether we can fix that process. These timelines are just way too long. For some reason, we get bogged down in paperwork, and like some of the candidates said here, that it goes through so many departments before it comes to the forefront, and then we can approve it. So maybe we don't have to go through every department that's in City Hall in order to get that development permit or that the thing to get it done. I mean, it is a problem. It has to get looked at, and I think we have to look at this management team and take a quick look and see whether we can do it better. I mean, if the timelines are there or we're missing paperwork, or I really don't know. I'm not in there. I don't know what the paperwork is that has to go through in the process. So I'm hoping that we can streamline this process so that we make people happy and they stay here and build businesses within our community.
Candidate Turner.
Well, my management style, and I've managed many fairly large organizations, and it's really all about communication. If there are issues, you need to find out what they are, and you need to find solutions to them. And that basically just matters of sitting down with people, and it might be the people who are having problems with permits, or it might be the people who are issuing the permits. But the bottom line is if you communicate and you build consensus and you get the job done, and that's really what I'm all about, and that's all I've ever done in my 30 years in the business world.
Candidate Simmons.
Well, I believe I am a leader, and I believe that leaders are people who can get buy-in into their ideas. So if I have an idea, I want to get buy-in from the staff that are working with me and make sure that it aligns along with their values and what they want out of their job. I also think leaders are able to build a team and work together on a team, not just try and stand out on their own. I think leaders try to create consensus and they work to hear other people's ideas and are willing to listen to other people's ideas, and they can change. Your idea can change if someone has a good reason for their idea. I think as well, leaders are solution focused. So, it is always about how do we say yes instead of how do we say no, and how do we come up with a solution versus a fight and an argument. And so you can debate and enjoy that, but also just shake hands at the end. So that's my leadership style, and I think I've shown that in the community.
Candidate McIntosh.
I also agree with the open communication as a key to this process, because it's barriers that emerge inside organizations when communication is not effective and it's not allowed, and open communication is not accepted. I think in our specific situation, we have several different departments, several different managers who each have their own mandate that they're working towards. And at the end of the day, they have their goal that they need to reach, whatever that might be. Other departments are achieving different goals. And because of that lack of open communication between those departments, and that definitely is something that a new council can set in place to open up those lines of communication, these problems can be certainly decreased.
Candidate Knodel.
My management style is to encourage. I always like to treat people with dignity and respect. I try and understand the other person's point of view, but I think my biggest talent is to build a vision. And if you can get your folks to buy into your vision and get them excited about that vision, man, you get everybody pulling in the same direction. You can go a lot farther doing it in that manner than another style would accomplish. So we're going to get that done. We're going to get a vision that everyone is going to buy into, that we're all going to benefit, and we're going to get excited about that, and we're going to make this puppy go. Thanks.
Candidate Clausen.
Selena said it best when she said that leadership is really about getting other people to get on board with your ideas. And really great leadership is about getting everybody to want to do the same thing at the same time or close to, so that you can actually get things done. And that's what this is about. This is about getting things done. I've talked to people, and this has been a problem for this city for way too long. Way, way, way too long. It's not even funny to me anymore. I don't want to have to talk about this. I don't want to have to talk about this when I run in 4 years. I want to get this done as soon as we can. It's a simple thing, in my opinion. I think a lot of people get too bogged down in a lot of bullcrap, and it's got to go away. We have to be able to admit to ourselves that some people aren't going to like what may come out of this as far as changes go for them themselves, but it will create a better, more improved, stronger city for us moving forward in the future.
Candidate Glasgow.
My leadership style is, like everybody else up here, is team consensus. Without open communication, there's no relationship that can work, whether that's the relationship within a team or the relationship within a couple in a marriage. Open communication has to be there. Top-down style of management does not work. It's old school. The old cliche is the fish rots from the head down, and that's exactly what happens with top-down management. And so what I think we need to do as a council is we need to be flexible. We need to be able to listen to each other. We need to be able to listen to the people at City Hall. We need to, more importantly, be able to listen to the citizens of Medicine Hat and come up with a consensus and stay solution-focused.
Candidate Friesen.
I believe it's really important to create strong relationships and a team environment. Absolutely critical. I'm a consensus builder, and you need to have that on a strong council team. Not always top-down. You work with all of the people all of the time. And you surround yourself with strong people, stronger and smarter and more knowledgeable than you, because that's what makes you stronger as a team. Govern and not manage or implement. Ensure that the administrative structure is in place to make sure that good leadership supports it and supports you, the people who elected us, who, by the way, we are accountable to. Start with the end in mind. That's a Covey saying, and build a vision together. And build a cohesive organization with a constructive culture. Very important that the people who work at the City of Medicine Hat also feel part of a team and that we're all moving in the same direction together. That's what I feel is really important in leadership. There are many factors, and no one stands alone.
Time. Candidate Davis.
Boy, a lot of people are saying the same things. Leading by example is my philosophy. You know, if you want to see the same result, hopefully you can put in your own time and effort as the same thing. Being open, listening to people, that's the biggest factor as well. My style of management skill has always been, you know, I surround myself with, like I say, I surround myself with a lot of people that, and I love to see how successful, what they're doing different that makes them grow, and I always want to be like that. And you know, leading, I guess, with the council here, I'm still going to be one of 9 people, and hopefully we can all be on that same team and on the same page as well, and we can lead this city into the future.
Candidate Cox.
It's recently been said that politics is the art of negotiating the long-term public interest. And I think that's what needs to happen here. And I think it starts with checking your own agenda at the door. You've got to, that isn't to say you abandon your principles, your ideas, and what your vision, but I think it means that you start by listening, and you are fair and open in the process of receiving information, discussing ideas, and then building consensus towards the decisions that need to be taken. If there's a good, strong team on City Council, which I think has been lacking, if there's a team approach there, that team approach will filter down through the whole structure.
Candidate Black.
When I was a principal of a school for a number of years, I had one rule, and it was posted at the front door, and the rule said, treat others as you wish to be treated yourself. Everything else after that was an expectation. So my leadership style was always treat others the way you want to be treated yourself, but also lead by example. I used to show up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Pretty soon teachers were showing up at 7:45. I ran a summer school. Pretty soon teachers were showing up this summer to help with summer school. We ended up with the highest completion rate in the province of Alberta at one time because we did it, not one person did it. You know, as Mr. Cox says, you have to suspend your ego from time to time, acknowledge the good things that happen to your staff, give them the credit, but be man enough to take the heat when things go wrong. Protect your staff from the barbs and arrows that sometimes come from public service, but also be man enough to acknowledge the good things they do and step back in the background from time to time.
Good. Well, I think we have time for one more question before we get into wrap-ups. This is a gooder. Comes from the crowd again, and I was wondering when it was going to come. Ready? Who gets to answer this one first? Would you be ready to increase taxes and utilities if it brought more people and life to the city? Candidate Varga. You're up.
How come you always start with me?
Is somebody down the end of the table there was complaining about being last, I think.
Well, I'm not sure how to answer that one because I know that people don't like paying taxes. But I think if we're going to bring more people into town, that obviously is going to say that we're bringing more business into town. And by bringing more business into town, you increase your tax rate. So I'm not sure whether increasing the population, there is the means that we have to raise taxes. Like I said, if the population is growing, it's obviously for a reason, and it's probably because there's more jobs within our city. So I'm not a fan favorite of doing that right now, and especially in the economic times that we're at. So I would have to say no for the moment. But if things keep going the way it is, and we have to go into that part, we might have to change that attitude. But for right now, I'm not a fan favorite of increasing taxes for any reason right now.
Okay. Candidate Turner.
Well, you know, I'm never a fan of giving governments more money because they always seem to find a way to spend it. And I would certainly like to look at ways that we can make sure that the current taxes we have are being spent wisely before I would ever entertain raising taxes. But there may be occasions when we want to, say, do some major projects to redevelop downtown, or do something on the river that we've talked about, and creating a marina and that type of thing there. And maybe on that particular case, it might be a matter of raising taxes to expand our tax base, and then down the road, hopefully hold the line on taxes. So I guess I would have to give a definite maybe.
Good. Candidate Simmons?
Okay, I'm not sure. Maybe I misunderstood the question, but as I understood the question was if we bring extra people to the community, would we pay more taxes? I think that it's actually the opposite. I think if we bring more population growth, more business to the community, we're going to pay less. Well, maybe not less taxes, but we'll probably pay equal taxes to what we're paying, because as we grow the tax base, those amenities and things that we're looking at to grow the community will come with that extra tax base. So like I said before, $70 of every $100 approximately in taxes is corporate tax. So if we can attract those corporate taxes, we as taxpayers are going to pay a lot less in our personal taxes.
Candidate McIntosh.
This is an interesting question. I sit on the Urban Environment and Recreation Advisory Board, and a couple of years ago we went through the process of doing the Recreation Master Plan, where we identified needs of the community and willingness of the community to support different projects. And I was looking through this the other day, and 84% of the citizens of Medicine Hat that were surveyed at one point indicated a willingness to pay more taxes if their recreation needs were met, or if there was more services provided. So there are times in a community where people are willing to pay more taxes to enhance what is being offered. This question, on the other hand, if I agree with Selena, if people are moving to our community, it would seem to me that our taxes would be maintained or going down. So I would not be in support of that.
Okay, let me just reread the question,
Okay.
because I think people are interpreting it the right way. It says, would you be ready to increase taxes and utilities if it brought more people and life to the city? Just to be clear, that's the question. Okay, Candidate Knodel.
Well, I say my opinion first off is no. I don't want to see taxes increase. If it meant that there was business going to locate here and jobs were going to explode through the roof, I would be in favor of seeing the value in that increase, and only incremental amounts. But I'd have to see that, man, we are gonna benefit, and that overall, like say in 3 years' time, we're actually gonna see a drop. I would only see that as an investment for a short period of time, feeling confident that the increase would drop the taxes in the future. So I'm very cautious about that. Value is important.
Candidate Clausen?
This is actually just a hypothetical play question. Under the assumption that an increase in taxes and costs and whatnot will actually bring vibrancy to the community, of course I'd be willing to be for it. And yes, I'll always sacrifice my queen to get a mate. It's kind of a little bit about endgame there. If increasing the taxes 300% would bring 400% growth to our community, well, of course, whether or not we can guarantee those things is all going to be semantic, and we're going to sit up here and talk about that and argue about that and say what we feel and whatnot about that. But if performing the action gives you the desired result, which is something we have been really lacking as far as growth and vibrance, then yeah, totally, it's not a terrible thing. But of course, it is a hypothetical question, and it exists under the hypothetical assertion that the increase in said taxation would then bring the vibrance we so require.
Okay, I want to be clear. I don't write them. I just read them. And that reminded me of my Economics 203 class, which I didn't like then. Candidate Glasgow.
Well, personally, no, I don't want to increase taxes, and I don't want to have to pay more taxes. But I think in reality, if there's a project that really needs some more money and it needs a tax base, and maybe you could do it on a plebiscite type model where people could vote on it and decide if they wanted to raise their taxes on that issue. And there may be different times that we do need to increase those taxes, but hopefully, and I think somebody already said that if we do have to increase taxes, we'll be increasing them in order that we can come up with the project that will bring in more tax base, that maybe in the future we can lower those taxes. So I'm a definite maybe as well.
Candidate Friesen?
Well, it's an interesting question. On its face, I would be not so inclined, because the low taxes and benefit we receive from utilities are one of our advantages, which earlier was stated would be one of the reasons why people would locate a Medicine Hat, and that's what we all want. But it's more complex than that. I think there are times when you have to make an investment in the future of your city for many reasons. It might be a facility. We've talked about downtown redevelopment. I feel very strongly about that. River development, facilities, recreation facilities, that business locating, they want those things for their families. So yes, sometimes you have to make an investment. And that investment may mean an increase in tax revenue taxes to the residents over the short term, but it would be a stabilization over the long term in your tax rates, because more people would move here and the tax base would be larger.
Candidate Davis.
Well, certainly a loaded question. I think that's the first study we need to do. No, just kidding. I guess if the question's posed that if I have to raise taxes, then obviously something large has come up that we really have to think about. So, and I agree with candidate Friesen here, if it's something that's going to be an investment in the future, certainly. But then how far do we go down the road where before it comes back down? You know, lots of times taxes go up and they just keep staying up, and then the next project, let's keep raising them. So that's that fine line. So if it's something that I believe that is going to be a wise investment for the city, then absolutely, it would be a tough decision, but it would have to be done as long as we can look at basically a backdoor plan that we can come back out of it. That's how I feel.
Okay. Candidate Cox?
Short answer is no. The explanation is because it's not necessary. It hasn't been necessary in the past. Things like the Family Leisure Center, the Esplanade, now the event center, have all been built, capital costs totally covered by other sources of financing and not resulted in an increase in taxes. We enjoy a very high level of public services here. Look at the Viner Center. We're being told Medicine Hat is the only community in Alberta that owns and operates its own senior center. So we're able to do a lot of things here. That's called the Medicine Hat Advantage, and still keep taxes low. That's what I'm in favor of. But I think that the citizens also have a high expectation of services. And if those become challenged in the future, then certainly higher tax rates would always have to be an option to be considered.
Candidate Black?
Well, I want to tip my hat to the clever person in the audience who asked this question, because it's like a double entendre. How do you answer a question? I can't imagine moving to some place as an incentive to have taxes raised. So I'm going to say pretty much what everyone else has said. If we maintain the Medicine Hat Advantage, we won't have to raise taxes to attract people to our community.
Okay, candidates, I think you handled those questions exceptionally well. And now we're going to move into the wrap-up. Each candidate will be given one final opportunity to address the audience with their closing statement. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to speak, and we started alphabetically increasing. We are going to start alphabetically decreasing, and we're going down to the end of the table. Mr. Varga. Congratulations, you're still up.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm privileged to be up here with these people that have the same goal as what I do, and that's to be a councillor in Medicine Hat. It's been a privilege to meet all of you, and I know that I'll have some good friends after the election by meeting all you guys in the last 4 weeks. For me, over the last 6 years, since the first time I ran, I've been involved in 3 boards, the latest one being the Municipal Planning Commission, which is a great board to be on because you see what's happening within the community. You get to vote on whether they stay in our community, whether they have to do a few more things in our community, and I'm privileged to have that part on the board by being able to say that yes, you can start a business in this community, or yes, you can build that deck, or yes, you can do some of the things that nobody else thought you could do. But in saying that, I've gained the confidence over the last 6 years to be a person that sits around that horseshoe table in City Hall. I believe that I've gained that experience through these boards. I've seen how the city operates in a very small way without seeing what internally is happening, but I think in a little way I've gained a lot of experience through these boards, and I'm happy for that challenge. A lot of the people up here talked about leadership. Over the past 3 years, I've been lucky enough to be the general manager of Medicine Hat Minor Hockey, and leaders take responsibility, and that's
Time.
what I...
Yeah, I know, you're just getting really wound up.
Minute and a half?
Mr. Turner, I promised you I'd be brutal.
First of
right?
all, thank you for the Chamber of putting on this event, and thank you all for coming. I guess the question of the night is, why would you vote for me? I think that I would bring to the table my years of business experience. You know, I like many of you, I know what it's like to have to meet a payroll. I know what issues business people face, and I think that would be a valuable asset that we would have someone like that on council. This election really is about the future of Medicine Hat. We are looking at it, we're at a turning point right now, and I think it's time that all of us roll up our sleeves and get the job done. We know what the issues are. The main one is economic activity, and we all have to work towards getting that issue fixed. You know, I've got lots of experience as far as sitting on, I was a kinsman, I've been on the Saskatchewan Tourism Board representing Southwest Saskatchewan. I was president of the Shaunavon Chamber of Commerce. I was the treasurer of the Canmore Chamber of Commerce. So I've really spent a lot of time working with various groups and organizations. I'm currently the executive director of the Medicine Hat Food Bank, which really, I see the other side of our community and the people who are in need here. And I think that's, I would bring that to the table as well. All I say is please make sure you vote on October 21st, and hopefully you will choose me as one of your councillors. Thank you.
Ms. Simmons.
So I decided to run in this election because I love this community and I love Medicine Hat and I'm invested in it being the best place to live. I think that the best way to achieve that right now is to look at growing business and increasing our tax base so that our community can grow. And I think that we have a possible team that can make that happen. I'm only willing to make 2 promises. One of those promises is that I stop campaigning on October 22nd and I take the values that I'm putting out there today and putting those to work at City Hall. If I don't do that, I promise I won't run next time. Also, I promise that I will listen to all of your concerns. So I hope that I'll be the candidate that you can call up and tell me your concerns, and I'll be willing to listen, and I'll be willing to sit down and talk with you. I can't always promise I'll agree, but I'll always be willing to listen. On election day, I'm going to be voting for those candidates that have a proven track record in leadership and community involvement. If you think I'm that person, I hope that you cast your vote for me. Thank you.
Mr. McIntosh.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are exciting times for our city. The event center has a shovel in the ground and things are moving forward finally. This is great for our tax base and our economy. Thinking Hat a few weeks ago got people talking again about the excitement of what could and should be happening downtown. Our next council needs to move some of those ideas forward to improve our downtown revitalization process. There is open discussion regarding tourism and rebranding our city. This is going to change the way we look at ourselves and how people driving through our community look at us. And we can guarantee there are going to be new faces on council with new ideas, new concepts, and a new vision. Align that with a new CAO, and I think there's going to be a lot of effective change taking place in our city. We need to ensure on October 21st that we elect a team of visual leaders who can create effective decisions when those effective decisions need to be made. I have a proven track record in the community of community service and of affecting positive change. I am passionate and want to see this community continue to grow, thrive, and become as great as it could be. It is imperative that you educate yourself on which people are running that align with your views and vote for them on October 21st. Thank you very much.
Mr. Knodel.
A number of years ago, I was 23 years old with 2 younger brothers as partners. We approached the existing Honda motorcycle dealership owner and we said, we want to buy your business. After he talked to us for a couple of days, I might add that we didn't have any money. And he talked to us for a couple of days and he saw we had drive and desire. He handed us the keys. He said, here, boys, go operate it for a couple of weeks and go borrow the money for the loan. Well, it's exactly what we did. 14 months later, we were 533% over our quota that Honda had set for us. We had drive, we had desire, we wanted to do it. I have the drive, I have the desire, I want to do it. I want to represent you, the voters, on council. We will take this forward. I will work with my contemporaries. We will be united. We will make this team, make this city go forward. Like a good thoroughbred, she's going to take a bit of an experienced hand, but we're going to make that thoroughbred go through the furlongs and put the nose across the finish line first. Thanks a lot.
Mr. Clausen.
I've said it before. I am the anomaly. I'm the only one under 30. I'm the only one who I can tell you made less than $20,000 last year. I'm the only one, well, actually, I'm not really sure, but I'm one of the only ones who lives in the flats and was flooded out. I'm close to the meat and potatoes of these issues because they affect me very, very greatly. This is my future I'm talking about. This is our city's future I'm talking about. And I wish to fight for that future. I wish to make sure that things get done. We seem to be in general consensus about what should be done. And most of it is kind of obvious. Some of it isn't, but I'm not going to cover that here. Most of it is kind of obvious. So I want to make sure we actually swing that bat. I want to make sure that we actually perform the feat or we step off the pot.
Ms. Glasgow.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming and the Chamber for hosting this. I love Medicine Hat and its people, and I have for 44 years. In fact, before that, because the big deal when I grew up in Empress was to be able to come to Medicine Hat for the day, so I've loved it for longer than 44 years. I want to listen, and I want to make decisions. I want to listen to the people of Medicine Hat, and I want to represent you. I want to make decisions to make us move ahead. Get the Viner Center set up. Let's look at intergenerational programming there so all generations can benefit and all people can share their ideas and their interpersonal skills within generations and make us better people, better youth, better young families, and better seniors. I want to be part of the team of the Medicine Hat Advantage. I have no personal agenda at all. I am neither private nor public sector. I have been both, but I am retired, and I have all the time in the world to do this job. Finally, I have all the time in the world to do this job. I've always had the skill, but I've never had the time. I've been too busy raising kids, working, or looking after aging parents, which I no longer have to do any of those, so all I can do is look after Medicine Hat. I've worked on many boards on the local level, provincial, and diocesan level, and I bring years of working on effective, efficient teams. I want to serve you, and I'm excited to do this. Please get out and vote on October 20.
Ms. Friesen.
Thank you, all of you, for this wonderful opportunity. I believe we're at a fork in the road. We're at a turning point in the long-term growth of Medicine Hat. And we're not growing. In fact, I feel we're sliding backwards a little bit. And status quo is not good enough. This election is about the future. I have a ton of ideas. There's never enough time to share them all. I'll give you a few. I'd like to ask other business and municipalities, what made you successful? What are the factors that made you successful? Let's learn from those. Let's develop that seamless approach to development we talked about. Let's give the mayor his primary role to be our ambassador and champion here in the province, in Canada, sometimes in the world. Let's develop a new tourism strategy together. Let's get our river valley developed. Let's work in better partnerships with those strong organizations we already have, like the Chamber and the EDA and so on. Rather than working in silos, let's work together to build strength. Let's develop our youth, and I'd like to see a youth entrepreneurship forum, and give them some clout, though, for heaven's sakes. Some small business forums, some critical strategic planning. I have not forgotten either about flood mitigation and those people who are so affected and so dear to my heart, or quality of life that's so important to me. I'd like to see us rebrand and become a hub of innovation and technology. It can be done. In my work, I teach governance. I do a lot of strategic planning and help groups with their organizational development and become cohesive.
Mr. Davis.
Definitely want to thank everybody for coming out. I'm trying to make the magical speech here. I moved down from Red Deer in '92, and I'm definitely proud to call myself a Hatter. We're definitely unique people. If you would ask me 5 years ago if I'd ever be sitting in this seat, not a chance. So about 6 months ago, if you asked me, I certainly had my intentions now, because I'm realistically running because I've been in business for about, for most of my life here in the Hat for over 15 years. I've set up several businesses. I believe this city has such a unique advantage, and there's such a hub of opportunity here for young entrepreneurs that we're not seeing. I decided to go into running for council to try and help turn this around. This is a great city. All we have is to look forward, and all I can offer to you, I'm just me. I do have an agenda, actually, because my agenda is to make this city stronger. I don't want to be sitting here in 4 years talking about the same things. Why isn't the city growing? We have all the opportunities. We have the people here. Let's get excited again. And I can offer basically my common sense to any decision. I go by the facts. I make decisions based on that. And determination. My drive has always made me, every project I've done in this city, even in my personal life, I fulfill 100% through. And that's, I believe, is going to be a great quality. On October 21st, you're going to have a really tough decision, because we actually do have a great set of candidates running for us. So I hope
Mr. Cox.
Thank you for your attention this evening. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting yet another opportunity for voters to inform themselves so they can make reasonable and sound decisions on Election Day. You have a great chance here to build a wonderful team. This has been the most positive election I've taken part in. Of the 15 candidates running for alderman, I think you have a wonderful opportunity to build a team, some veterans, some new blood, some experience, some imagination, some older, some younger, some men, some women. Build the team, and we will listen to you, the people of Medicine Hat, and take you forward into the next, into the future. Speaking for myself, I would be honored to be part of the City Council of Medicine Hat again. You know me, Medicine Hat. You know that I can be fair. You know that I am trustworthy. And you know that you can count on me to listen to the various points of view in the community, to bring reason and common sense to the decision-making process, and to make decisions that will be in the long-term best interests of all of you. Thank you.
Mr. Black.
Well, it's self-evident that I would like to be elected on October 21st. I wouldn't be here if that wasn't the case, but I'm going to take a little bit different approach here and be a little bit more pragmatic. I think you in the audience have the toughest job of all. I think before you see a group of people here who are intelligent, who are committed, who are dedicated, who are putting their service forward, it takes quite a bit of courage to stick your nose out into the public forum and be scrutinized by public and media. I think what we've demonstrated here in the last couple of weeks is that we've actually built a sense of camaraderie amongst ourselves. That's a step towards team building. We've developed respect towards one another step towards team building. We've demonstrated some courage, which is a step towards being able to make good decisions. Leadership takes courage. Making hard decisions takes courage. I think your challenge is to pick the 8 best candidates you can and the best mayor you can in the upcoming election, make informed decisions. And the thing I'm proud of for all of us is I think we're going to make your decision tough. I think you've got good choices to make up here along with incumbents. And I'm counting on you as well as myself, because I'm going to vote just like you are, to pick the best team of 9 that you possibly can, because this council will set the tone not just for 4 years, but for 8 and 12 years going out. So please make informed decisions and vote on October 21st. Thank you.
Well, yeah, definitely. So all the candidates, I mean, you obviously care passionately about your community, or you would not be up here volunteering your time for 4 years. I know what that commitment's all about, and my appreciation to you for letting your name stand for office. This evening, and thanks to the folks in the audience. Everybody followed the instructions right from the beginning. I got to tell you, next week I have a forum to chair in one of Alberta's other cities, that shall be unnamed, where we are going to have 34 people running for council and 6 people running for mayor. That's going to be a lot like speed dating that night. I'd like to thank Medicine Hat Chamber again for inviting me down. This is an example of the quality of your chamber in this town, in this city. The advocacy work that this chamber does, not just locally, but provincially and federally on your behalf, and we just came back from the Canadian Chamber AGM, is second to none, I would say, in the country. And that is one of the reasons, amongst the other things, that they put on great events. Shameless plug for your business awards next week. Tickets still available or sold out? See the lady in the front, she has tickets available. Those are all reasons why this chamber excels, and why this chamber at our last AGM in May in Drumheller was elected or won the title of Chamber of the Year for the province of Alberta for their category. Candidates, with your cooperation, we managed to handle 8 questions this evening, which was, I thought, better than what we were actually going to cover. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll conclude our first night of election forums. We invite you to join us again tomorrow night as we welcome mayoral and incumbent candidates. Before you go, I'd like to bring up Chris Hellman, President of the Chamber of Commerce, to say a few words. Chris?
Pardon me. Thanks, Ken, and thank you, everyone. How about a round of applause for our moderator tonight? Just before I wrap up here, I'd just like to make one quick comment just with regards to the questions that were submitted up front there. Not all of them could be read tonight. We read a few. There are some we noted that were read at other forums last week that were already answered. And some are included questions that are on a 6-question questionnaire that was given to all candidates that will, they have all answered, and it will appear on our website by the end of the week. So if you're curious, if your question was asked and you didn't hear it, check the website at the end of the week. It could very well be on there. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank you for attending the Chamber's election forum this evening. While the Chamber does not endorse any one candidate, it is the Chamber's responsibility to help the public better understand the issues at stake in our municipal election and where our candidates stand on business-related issues. We hope that by attending tonight's event, you are able to make an informed vote on October 21st. Mayoral candidates and incumbent aldermanic candidates will take the stage tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. here in the College Theatre. I would like to acknowledge the staff of the Chamber of Commerce for their work in organizing tonight's event, as well as the member of our Board of Directors, Chamber Ambassadors, and volunteers for their roles this evening. Thank you to the Medicine Hat College for providing us the use of your theater this evening, and finally thank you to Shaw for being here to film tonight's event. Tonight's forum and tomorrow's will both be broadcast on Shaw between October 12th and 20th at various times. Please visit the Chamber's website at www.medicinetchamber.com for full details on these broadcasts. Thank you and have a great evening.